So it's Rod Maxwell with Radio Alti, and we're doing the podcast Life with No Filter. And as usual, I'm here with my three friends. All of us share brain injury, brain damage as being part of the reason why we're here. Vanessa Robinson, Brooke Trotter, and Kavita. Good afternoon, guys. How are you?
Hi, good, thank you.
So we decided up front that today we would tackle the subject of fatigue, which I know is something that's quite common to us all four of us, and quite common to people who've had injury or damage to their brain. And as the person who's probably, even though I'm 4 years down the track, I'm probably the person that's in the worst position to talk about this, because I'm guilty of fighting it, and it's not something you can fight very easily. Who wants to start off just describing how fatigue, what sort of fatigue they've suffered from, or how they've experienced it, and just talk about what it's been like?
I'll do it. It started when I was in hospital. I was just tired all the time, and I don't know, I just thought I was just being lazy or whatever, but it just was something that never really went away. And I was always like clinging on to, I mean, you used to get, it's not, people don't really understand it, because people understand it as tiredness, and it's not really tiredness, it's like absolute exhaustion. And people would think, you know, that I go for like a rest in the day, and people would think that, you know, you could go out on a night out and then just nip and have half an hour nap and I'd be fine again. But it's not really a case of that. I would just get so tired, and I would have to. Basically, you can't fight it. The only way you can get over it is by resting, and you have to rest. You need to structure your day. I think that's something that do you not find that you need structure in your day? You can't just seem to go for a rest when you feel like it. It's much better to go, like, you know, go at the same time every day.
But Vanessa, yeah, I think you structure your sleep patterns, but this is something that you've experienced.
Well, I'd say it's the biggest obstacle to returning to supposedly normal life. And how I manage it is by planning and planning my time. So every day I have a nap time built in, early afternoon, and I tend to try and just do one major thing a day. So this for me is my major thing. And to describe it, I would say it's like your worst form of jet lag you've ever had, and it's not tiredness. It's a brain drain, and your speech goes, your thought goes. You know, somebody says, "Would you like a cup of tea?" and you can't even decide if that's what you want. Your concentration is gone, your memory's gone. So you end up, instead of making a cup of tea, you pour boiling water into, a frying pan. So I would say that it's not so much for me the physical side, although if I'm walking, apparently I do slow down, but it's more that it goes from my head, it goes from my thinking before it goes from me physically.
Yeah.
My close family are I think they know before I do that I'm getting tired, and apparently my tell is that I rub my eyes, which I only found that out today because I was asking them. But my I know that I sort of take on a vacant look, which I don't have that all the time, but sorry?
I'm going to say it's like a car, isn't it? If a car's got no petrol, then it can't go anywhere. It's not something that you can like man up and get over. It's just if you fatigue, if you totally, you kind of depleted of all your energy in your body, and that kind of goes for everything. I mean, like.
But also, like a car, if you run it so you've completely run out of petrol, you damage the engine, and I think that's it's learning not to get right to rock bottom. So I know that, say at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm not completely on the floor, but if I didn't have a nap, then by 7 o'clock in the evening, well, I wouldn't be able to, I couldn't have a meal with my family, and family time is very important to me. So I would rather have a nap early afternoon to give me resources to carry on until 10 o'clock at night.
And Kavita, I'm interested, Kavita, with the writing that you do and the writing the books. Did you find that drained your, let's call it your mental battery quickly or differently, and therefore you had to come up with a sort of structure or a schedule for when you would write?
I mean, I think for me, I 100% agree with Vanessa. It's like one of my biggest things that has really impacted on my life, my lifestyle. When I first came out of hospital, I literally couldn't get through the day without sleeping most of it.
Yeah.
It was like I had to brush my teeth and then sleep. I had to go for a shower and then sleep.
Yeah.
It was really, 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 like, I didn't understand how much it impacted me. And then when I started to do my book, it was more like the fact that I had to just put away 1 hour a day that was for that time, and in between I had to rest, I had to nap. I was working as well, working full time back in work, and it was so exhausting that I was not having any family time. When I was at home, I think I was in bed by something like 7:30, and didn't even like speak to my children, didn't have dinner with them, nothing. And this is why I had to sort of take the decision to sort of change my lifestyle. But I think nowadays, fatigue is still a huge part of my everyday life, and every day I have to sleep every day without fail. And if I don't, and if I fight it, I'm really, really ill for like a couple of days.
It takes days to get over it, doesn't it? It's not just like, oh, we'll have an early night and you'll be okay. I mean, there are occasions, aren't there, when you say, if you're lucky enough to go on holiday, that traveling, say for, just getting the flight, even if it's not a full day, you're exhausted. So you know that the first couple of days of the holiday, you've got to do literally nothing. So again, it's back to the planning. It's not just planning the individual days. You have to look at the whole week. And there will be times when, well, on a Wednesday, I've got an appointment in the morning and I've got to do this in the afternoon. So you just know the Tuesday and the Thursday have to be much quieter.
See, I must admit, when I left hospital, I wasn't ready for this. I mean, I wasn't really ready for sort of assimilating back to what it would be the new normal life, if you like. But and the fatigue thing really, I was a big surprise, and I don't know why it was. It shouldn't have been. And I was then diagnosed with having low growth hormone, which was something I never heard of before. But I think there's a little gland. I think it could be your pituitary. Is that the one, Brooke?
It's your pituitary gland. Yeah, yeah. It's just behind your nose.
And it's about the size of a pea. And the assumption was that the tumor, because my tumor, the carcinoma, where it was, I say my tumor like I'm proud of it. I hate the thing, but it had bruised this very small pea-sized gland, the pituitary, and the pituitary excretes a natural substance which is in layman's terms called growth hormone. And one of the best things that happened when I got out of hospital, the best aftercare things that I got was a test that they did, which was a blood test, and they measured the level of my growth hormone. And I've spoken to other people, and it's not many people that I've spoken to about this have been aware of it. But my growth hormone level was 50% where it should be. and it's a bit like insulin for the mind, the body, and so I now take growth hormone substitute, which I inject, and I don't know. It's not like suddenly drinking a can of sugary pop where you suddenly fizz and you're re-energized like a Duracell bunny, but I have found that it has improved my quality of life, because fatigue, as I'm sure you guys recognize, it just destroys, quality of life. Falling asleep at 9 o'clock at night when you're sitting down with your wife and trying to watch a documentary, and I haven't been very good at managing it at all. But that's the bit that really impacts you, because you're there as a 40, I'm now 50, but 47-year-old, 48-year-old man falling asleep and out for the count at 9:30 at night, and those things really have an impact. So it's something that really crept up on me, and I'm still, when we'll come on to how people manage it, but I'm still struggling to know how best to manage it, if I'm honest.
I think it was something that really bothered me, because I was at university at the time. I was in my early 20s, and at that particular time in my life, no matter how tired you were,
Yeah.
you just used to go to bed, and it was all fine again in the morning. And I went for a few years of just being exhausted all the time, and I went for the growth hormone test as well, and I suppose the reason you have to inject it is because it's a protein, and if you have it in tablet form, you would just digest it like a normal food. And so what it has to do, it has to go into the I forgot what it's called, the layer of fat under your skin. So anyway, you have to inject it into the fat under your skin, and it mixes into your body. But it takes. It's not like Rod said, it's not instant, but it takes. It can take a couple of weeks to get in there, and it's a couple of weeks to get out of there. But how I've had it described to me is that it's like all the different hormones in your body and your endocrine system. They're like an orchestra playing, all the different instruments playing together. And if one of them, they all have to kind of play in harmony. And if one of them's not being produced, and I've explained this really wrongly, but if one of them's not being produced correctly, then it ruins the harmony, and you have to have your body in harmony.
Do you know what's a nightmare about though is I used to forget to take it, or actually is the flipping process of taking it. So then I had to have a grid on my phone that reminded me when to take it, and I used to have to take it out of the fridge for an hour beforehand. The whole process became a nightmare, and taking needles through security at an airport, nightmare. And I've left it behind, and then it's got to be temperature control, nightmare. But anyway, I've got used to the process. But anyway, there you go, Kavita.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, even though fatigue is like a massive part of my life now, the days that I actually do things, like say I do my walking, like on a Wednesday, I like to do my walking in the morning and with my friends. And those days I'm actually not as tired.
Yeah.
And it's really weird, because the days that I'm actually working and really using my concentration, it's not that physical activity.
Yes. Well, I do think that exercise, that actually gives you more energy, whether it's physical or mental, which is bizarre because you should be tireder. But I also think as well that some medications, I don't know what you're on, but they can also add to your fatigue. But obviously they're critical for keeping you alive. So
it's really strange, isn't it, that you are concentrating so much and then your fatigue levels are so much higher, but then when you're doing such a big, it's not a small physical activity, it's quite a big physical activity. Yeah. I actually feel better from it. It's just really, really strange. And I don't think I've ever, I think I've learned to sort of accept that this is my fatigue level and this is how I need to manage my days. And anyone who knows me as well, like any of my friends that know me, know that I have to, if I'm doing something in the evening, not doing anything at the minute anyway, but if I was doing something in the evening, I would have my quick nap. And they always ask me as well, have you had your nap today? Just to double check.
So that's, I mean, again, I have been, I don't think resisting this, but I haven't been very accepting this because, you know, if we were going out in the evening, obviously not for the last 6 months or more, but if you're away on holiday or something, I would have to go and have a lie down, like a siesta, in the afternoon, and to manage it, and to be able to go out and have a meal that night with the family. And I have to say, I've been, I don't know, arrogant, but I've really hated it because it's made me feel old and it's made me feel managed. I really hate, I do, and you know, I don't like giving into stuff, but this is something that you can't beat. But you know, I hate that feeling of having to go in the afternoon and having a kip when everybody else is busy doing stuff, and you know, I think I now realize that if I want to do something in the evening, it's going to be late, then I have to do it. But I definitely think it's been part of my lack of acceptance at times. Really,
I've come to realize that you can't let your fatigue levels get too low, because you just, like Vanessa said, it's like letting a car run out of battery. It kind of damages you, and it takes you like a long time to recuperate from that. So that it's the kind of the prevention is better than the cure sort of thing. I think I equate myself to my mobile phone a lot, because if I let my mobile phone run right down to zero, then it doesn't turn straight back on again. You have to plug it in for like 10 minutes, 20 minutes before it turns back on. And I think it's the same with me. If you've got to, if I let myself get too tired, then it just takes me ages to come back from it. But if I go for that rest, it's really better. It's much better to have structure in my life. So if I know what's coming and then plan around it, and it's not.
Yeah, no, I find that as well. But also, I think something that saps my brain anyway is multitasking. And I'm not talking about, you know, how I used to do it 10 years ago. I'm talking about if I'm concentrating on something, not having background noise.
Yeah.
And, you know, having things tidy. So if I'm looking for the potato masher in the drawer, I'm not having to search through things. It's just making life
simpler,
a bit easier. So I'm not having to use what I consider wasting my brain energy on something as ridiculous as trying to find the potato masher. You know, I'd rather be talking to my friends, you know. So it is, there are ways of making it, just living with it, making it easier. One thing that's quite relevant to this time of year, I find that wrapping presents is incredibly draining of my brain energy. And I think it's the concentration on things, and but I'd forgotten that, and then I was wrapping some parcels to be sent away, and yeah.
So I one of the signs that I've got when I'm slowing down is I start mixing up what I'm saying.
Yes. So, well, that's what I mean about that. You can't even construct a sentence. You want a cup of tea?
So when my family can like see that I'm getting very tired, I just start slurring my words. I start slowing down. I'm not making sense. And my husband will even say to me, you just need to go and have a lie down. Right
yeah. Oh, no. Mine tell me as well. And I just, yeah.
And I completely agree that you just need, like, sometimes, like, I actually think as well, like, it's the simple things, it's the simple life, and it's even little things like having to choose what to wear in the morning. Like, oh my God, like, it's just so much concentration is needed to
yes
out.
Yeah, so, yeah. Because people, we struggle with that anyway, isn't it? What we're going to wear going out, but it's just what I found. As I say, this year has been exceptional, but I actually try and choose things the night before, because it's almost, although I might be tireder, there's not as much pressure, and then I can get in the morning and just put them on.
Yeah.
But that's what
it's
works.
basically making your life as easy as possible, and
It is, yeah.
any planning you can do, then a planned day runs so much more smoothly.
Yeah.
Oh, and don't you hate it when the plans change? That is like,
and you can't be impulsive, can you? Oh,
No.
fancy going out for a drink? What? Oh God, you know. I can't, because tomorrow I'm doing, so you know, I'm going to the dentist or something ridiculous. But you know, we're very lucky that we are here, and I'd much rather have a nap each day and than the life that, you know, I could be having.
That's why
not having.
That's why I think in lockdown to begin with, I it's not that I enjoyed it, but I didn't find it a big issue because
it was a simple life, wasn't it?
It was simple, and you know, when I think back to the way I used to live my life and work and the traveling and the multitasking and the whatever else, you know, it's just a completely world away, and the fatigue. You know, I mean, you know, if I do 4 hours of activity, 5 hours of activity in a day, then I know I'm wiped out, and this is where, for me, acceptance is still a big issue, because I keep on thinking I should still be okay. I should still be able to do X, Y, and Z. And then bang, you get something like the fatigue block coming in, and you've got to go to sleep at, you know, 8 o'clock at night or 4 in the afternoon, etc. And it hits you, and then you realize, actually, I have a disability. It's a very silent one. But it's there. But it's just, you know,
it's about prioritizing, isn't it, though? And my priority definitely is being with family and friends. So if it means that I have to have a nap in order to, you know, have dinner with my family, I'd much rather do that.
And it's the thing, isn't it, what you want to do. So if there is something that's going on in the morning, like someone said earlier, there's something going on in the morning, and then there's something going on, and you can only do one thing. It's actually just choosing as well. Like, it is that whole plan, adapt, and you know what we said previously as well. It sort of comes down to the same thing.
But don't you think it's a bit like having an energy budget? If you know, everybody talks about financial budgets, but we almost went into bankruptcy, and now we've got a bit of cash to spend, and we just have to spend it very wisely.
Yeah, and I'm useless with budgets. I'm useless with budgets.
You've got a massive overdraft, haven't you?
I have. Well, I mean, and I, you know, tonight I'm going to be doing another call, but you know, but yeah, and then I don't sleep at night. You know, this is the thing.
Have a quick nap between the call.
I've got to finish the ironing, Kavita, and you know, do dinner. So, but look, let's just talk about some of the tips and things to avoid. I mean, we've already talked about them, but I mean, I guess the one thing is, you know, just recognizing it and getting some, you know, if you need to sleep, or getting a nap, or invest in a bit of sleep if you're going to be going out for the evening. That half an hour, 45 minutes can be useful. So, you know, I guess don't do as I have done, and I continue to do, is fight it. You've got to basically, you know, manage around it is one tip.
Yeah, and I don't think as well, you know, when I say I have a nap, it doesn't actually have to be
sleeping.
Sleeping. It just needs to, I don't know, just chill out. I don't know, just let your brain.
It's just like your computer, isn't it? You're just putting it into sleep mode. It doesn't mean it's stopped. It's
yeah.
Sleep mode without actually sleeping. Sleep mode with the option of sleep.
No, but I think that for me, I just like to manage it, because I want to make sure that I am there for that evening meal. I am awake for, you know, the important things. But it for me, it is just making sure that I'm working around it, working around my sleep pattern, making sure that I am doing the best I can to not overdo things. I think it is recognizing it, but it's also making sure that you don't overdo things, and also like planning. Those are the things that really helps me with my fatigue.
It's so much more useful to look and see your day as a whole in terms of planning, rather than just do things spontaneously. If you can you see your whole day, see what you've got on in the morning, if you've got on in the afternoon, and you can plan where you're going to have your sleep and plan to take it easy. And and if I do 2 things in a day, I'm gonna make sure that they're not, ideally something cognitive and something physical.
Yeah.
That was something that Mary taught us at basic, that Vanessa. And
was it? Oh, I've forgotten about. Yeah, that's what I do.
And so I never do 2 like cognitively demanding things in a day, but do one and never do 2 physical things in a day.
Yeah.
And if it's a particularly big physical thing, then just leave it for the like.
Yeah, we're speaking to marathon man here,
Well, I've run bizarrely, like people don't really understand. Like, I've run 2 marathons, and they think, how can you do that if you've got fatigue? But because it's
it's different, isn't it? I mean, not that I've ever run a marathon, but actually exercising.
Yeah. And I don't do anything else that day. But then again, I didn't usually have my sleep in the middle of the day if I've been running that day. So, it's I think forgetting the words again. That's a nightmare.
But it is
adrenaline takes over, and I can push through all the day.
But adrenaline can't make you think more clearly. So I think that's why the cognitive things are the first to go.
Yeah.
Aren't they? Yeah.
Cognitive is more exhausting as well, than because there's not a right lot of thought goes into running, really, especially.
So I think that the analogy of a battery, and never letting it get to zero because it takes longer to charge. I think that's a good analogy, actually, in that you might need a cheeky sleep in the afternoon. I mean, I'm saying this, and my wife will be going, "Oh, yeah, but you don't." But you guys have a little bit more experience than me. But that investment in a bit of sleep in the afternoon can be good to get you through the evening, if you like, and try planning your day. Actually, I think that's the other thing, isn't it? You've got to structure your day a little bit more.
Yeah. One thing as well that I do, a little trick that I do, is if I'm getting up for work and stuff in the morning, I'll get up like say half an hour early. I'll go and have breakfast, have a shower, and then I get ready as quickly as I can, and then I'll go back to bed for 10 minutes, set my alarm for 10-15 minutes, and then get up and go to work. And I find that little boost, a little bit of sleep is a boost. That's something I've invented. Whether that's a recognised tip, I don't know. But
it works for you, and it's not doing anybody else any harm. Does it really matter?
We'll call it the trotter boost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it good? It's like a little boost.
Well, look, I think that's it for today. We're going to talk about a few other topics that we're going to discuss in the next couple of weeks. Or one of it is behavioral change, I think we talked about, and the other one will be maybe it's personality change. But we've got a couple of other topics to talk about. But so far, I think we've talked about fatigue today. We've talked about memory before, and we're also going to talk about brain injury and employment. I think some of you guys have tried that and tried going back to work, and also created other forms of employment as well. So we've got a couple of other subjects coming up on this podcast over the next couple of weeks. All right, I think we're done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Speak soon. Bye.